So in Lab 1, as you can see in the lab sheet, we are going to discuss some basic commands related to Unix operating systems. So we have worked with Linux operating systems from IP module onwards. So here also I'm going to use same Kali Linux operating system. So as you wish, you can select either Ubuntu or you can select, if you have Kali Linux, you can use Kali Linux operating system. All the commands are similar in here, right? All Unix distributions or operating systems share the same type of Unix commands, and you can use the terminal to execute them. So either you're using CentOS, Ubuntu, Fedora, Kali Linux, of course, you can do all of these activities with related to Unix command execution and shell script writing. And also you can learn whatever the codings that we are going to execute with process management, things like that. So we are going to start by looking into the learning outcomes of this lab session. So you'll be familiarized with Unix environment in this session. Basically, you have worked with these Unix distributions before. So just to remind whatever the commands that we have discussed from that point onwards. And also we are going to discuss about Linux directory and file handling commands, because in here we are going to create directories and files, and we are going to polish up copy and moving commands, right? So I think when we discuss about IP lab sessions, we didn't go into that much of depth in copying and moving files or cut and paste files from one directory to another directory. So we are going to discuss those file handling commands in this lab session. So sometimes you may feel that you are going to learn new Unix commands. That's why I'm asking you to note down important points in here. Okay, so we'll start with the first command. It's pwd. So if you read the first question in your lab sheet, you can see it says that run command pwd on the command prompt. So what is our command prompt? Our command prompt is the terminal, right? So that's the terminal. Okay. So I have already logged into this Kali Linux. So this in Kali Linux or either in Ubuntu or let's say CentOS, Fedora, any of these operating systems are supporting command prompt activities. So you can execute any of these commands using command prompt or terminal. We call special term as terminal, right? So when we are working with Windows environment, we can experience this command prompt term. That when you are working with Linux environments, remember we are using terminal, right? So you know how to open the terminal. In here, you can see the terminal icon, or else you can right click on the desktop and use open in terminal, right? Or else you can go to applications and browse for the terminal icon, right? So I'm going to open a new terminal. So when I open this terminal in here, remember, it will be open inside desktop, because when I right click on the desktop, it will open a new terminal inside desktop directory, right? But if I open a terminal from this icon or while browsing this application menu, I'll open one and show you. You can see it's not going to open inside the desktop directory, right? And we can't see any directory name in here, right? But in this terminal, as you can see, we have a directory name. that is desktop. Okay. So when you open it, open a new terminal, always check what is the directory name. It's important, right? Because otherwise, when you create any files, when you are doing applications, when you create any programs, you can't find where you have created it. It's because if you have right click on the desktop and open a terminal, it will go to this desktop directory. Okay. So I'm going to use this terminal in the first activity and type pwd and press enter. So what we can see in here, we can see / and then root, right? And I'm going to execute the same command in here as well. So what we can see now, it says / root and desktop. Now, what is the meaning of this? pwd. What is the meaning of pwd? Yes. Location. Yes, I think you can remember what it says. It's describing a location. So PWD stands for present working directory, right? So if you don't know anything about Unix commands, how do we learn? Can you remember these things? I think you have worked with Linux in IP as well as OOP, right? So how do you find details about any commands? Yes, if you don't know anything about these commands, we can open the manual page, right? So when you open the manual page, I'll open another terminal in here. And I'll show you how to open the manual page. We can use MAN, that is the command to open the manual page, and the Unix command. So I want to read about pwd command, right? I want to know about pwd command. So manual page, open the manual page of pwd command. We can use man command to open the manual page of pwd and then press enter. Okay, so it says print name of current working directory. So either you can use p as print or present. So actually it will print out the present working directory. So currently where am I working? Now in here, since I have opened the terminal within desktop directory, it shows the path as desktop / root and then desktop. So I open the second terminal using the icon. So I'm not inside the desktop directory. It will just show the location as root directory. Okay, so this is the current location I'm working. Okay, so in the second question, it is asking you to describe the function of this pwd utility. So utility means it's a Unix command. Okay, so you can write down the meaning of pwd utility. Either we can call it as print working directory or present working directory. Yes. If you haven't installed the features of some of these commands, maybe you can't see the details, right? So when you open this manual page, actually now sometimes you can say it's like a description. Yes, it's describe you what is the meaning of this pwd command, and also it gives you some idea about what are the options that we can execute with pwd command, and some related information to this pwd command. Okay, so when you are learning further commands like ls, cd, you can see more than these options. So in the next lab session also, you'll be learning new terms, new Unix commands. So there you can find very descriptive manual pages. Okay, so we'll go back to the slide. Now, if you execute this in your lab environment, you would see something like this, right? /home and student, because we will be providing you a student login, right? So when we start lab sessions in on campus lab sessions, you can experience this command with this type of output. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? There's a meaning for this command output. Okay, first /, it has a meaning. It says about the root directory. In Unix environment, in Unix distributions, all of these operating systems like CentOS, Fedora, Kali Linux, Ubuntu, all of these operating systems are sharing a file hierarchy, virtual file hierarchy, right? So in this type of operating systems, they have two file systems. One is logical or virtual file system. The other one is physical file system, right? Physical file system means how do you save these files inside the hard disk? How do you physically save your files and whatever the directories inside the hard disk? That's what we talk about physical file system. When you talk about virtual or logical file system, we can experience how they have organized all of these directories and files within this operating system. So all of these files and directories are listed down under root directory. So that is the first level or top level of the file hierarchy system, right? So this root directory denotes with a /. So that is a special thing. Now in our output also you experience / and then root, / root desktop, right? So remember / means it denotes the root directory. So that is the top directory, top level directory. Okay. So then comes the home directory. Now in my execution, you didn't see something like home directory. You were able to see just root, right? Because I'm working as a root user. So in that level, you can find home directory. In our lab sessions, you can see a home directory. Because inside the home directory, we can keep all the user accounts, right? So user accounts like student. In our labs, we have another account used as ITSD, and also we have some exam accounts. So like this, those are the user accounts. Student, ITSD, and exam accounts are user accounts. So all of these user accounts comes under home directory, right? So why I don't see that home directory in my execution? In here, we don't see that because I'm working as a root user. So my login name is root. My user account is root. Okay. So in here, in both outputs, we can see just after the root directory, we can see root. It's because my login account is root. User account, username is root, and I'm using root users login credentials. Okay. So inside this root directory, we can see so many files and directories. So it's according to the list that we have created. So inside this root directory, we can see desktop directory. Okay. So remember, this root is another user account. Okay. So what is this student? Now, if you're executing these commands in your Linux environment, you may experience something like your name, right? In your output, you can see this root directory, / first / and then home directory. And then you can see user account, user name, right? That is in labs, you can see student, right? So in my output, it was root, right? I didn't have this level, home directory level. So if you have this user account and created it within this home directory, then you can see your name or whatever the user account you're using in your terminal, right? So that user account means that is the user's home directory. That's where we are working, right? So in my output, you saw it was root. So that's where I'm working, right? So that is my login. So this depends on the username of the user account. So we have a hierarchy, right? So this hierarchy starts like this. I'll show that hierarchy diagram. So we are starting with the root directory. Within the root directory, we have several directories, right? Actually, inside this root directory, it's not only the home directory. We can find so many other directories, right? Even if you check carefully, you can find something called root as this one of these directories, and etc, dev, right? So these are some of these directory names. And according to this example, inside this home directory, we can find student. So that's my user's home directory. Okay, so we have actually 3 levels. So this first / means that is the root directory. Inside the root directory, we have home directory. Inside home directory, there's a user account called student. So in my example, actually where I'm working in here, right? In my PC, I'm working inside root directory. So that's why you can see this / and then root. Okay. Now, if you think about the desktop directory, it's within this root directory. Okay, it's another directory. Okay, desktop is another directory. Now, what is this directory? You can't remember the term directory, then it's another problem. Directory means it's a folder, right? It's similar to a folder in Windows, but we don't call this term folder in Unix. We are using directory, right? Okay. So we'll check the next commands. General format of Unix commands. So what is the general format? We have to provide the command, right? And then options. Options including -sign. And sometimes you can provide targets, right? So this is the general format. Now, how did we execute PWD? We just gave PWD. It didn't pass any options. We didn't pass any targets, right? So we had only Unix command. What is this $sign? $sign will denote the shell prompt, right? This is shell prompt. Now, if I take ls -l command with desktop, what is the command? Command is ls, right? So we have to learn ls command in the next question. But before that, we'll check the format. Command is ls. Okay, that is the Unix command. What is option? Option is -l. right? Minus L. And if you want, you can provide a target like this. So if you want to see what are the files and directories inside the desktop directory, then you can provide that target. Or else you can execute just ls minus L command. Okay. Even without using these options and targets, we can execute this. It's not compulsory, but we can use these options if you want to see some details, more details related to your files and directories or whatever the commands that you're executing. You can use always options and targets, right? So that is a special feature with the terminal. Now, if you have familiarized with command prompt in Windows, you know you have very limited opportunities or limited features with command prompt, but when you compare it with terminal, it's very flexible and fast, right? You can execute so many commands, and like when you practice with terminal, you can do a lot of work than using the GUI, right? So all of these activities we can do with GUIs, but when you practice it with terminal, it's very easy and fast. So we'll execute ls minus AL, right? So we have ls minus AL. Okay. So ls is the command. AL minus A is one of these options, and L is another option, right? So in the next question, question 3, you can see type command ls minus AL. So remember, minus A is one option, minus L is another option. But we are not providing any targets. Okay, we don't need to provide any targets. We just execute as ls minus L and see what we can see. So I'm going to execute it in here in this ls minus AL. So this is what we can see. So you have to write down the first 2 lines, right? So first 2 lines means I want to write down up to this point, okay? So I'm going to copy this section and paste it into a notepad so then we can see what it means. Okay, so we are going to learn what is the meaning of each and every term in here. So here you can see the command prompt, shell prompt, root at Kali. So that's my shell prompt. Okay, so you don't see $sign in my shell prompt. You can see hash. So some of these operating systems, Linux operating systems, their shell prompt is appearing as hash. Okay, so sometimes you can see $sign. Especially in Fedora, Ubuntu, you can see $sign. But in Kali Linux, you can see hash as the shell prompt. Okay, so then this shows the block size. It's 220. So block size, it's how many blocks are there in my physical drive, right? So 220 blocks. So we'll see these information. Now, when you check this information, here you can see it's like a table, right? Now, when you see all of these information together, you can see it's like a table, right? You can see this as the first column, right? And there's a space, and then you have some numbers, again space, root, again space. Like this, you can see all of these information in a column format, right? So it's like a small table. So now we are going to see what is the meaning of each and every column. So in the first column, in here, we can identify the file type and access permission. So in the first column, you can see file type and access permission. Okay. So I'm going to have more space to show the idea clearly. First column, we have file type and access permission. In the second column, this 20, 24, 1, that is to show the link count. Link count. Okay. So in the next column, we have username, right? I just write it as user. Next column, we have user, username or owner of the file, user of the file. And then we have group. So both information look same, right? Username is root, group name is also root. So in your outputs, you may feel like you have a separate username. Sometimes you have separate group names. And what's next? This 4096, that is the file size, right? This is our file size, okay? So file size, is it in bits or is it in bytes or MB, megabytes, gigabytes? What is the size? We denote this size in bytes. Okay. So then what is the date? You have date and time, right? Then we have date and time. So date and time, that is the last modified date or the created date and time. Okay. So finally, you can see file name. Last column, you can see file name. Now, when you read the file name of first two rows, you can see it's just single dot and two dots. So do we have file names with these single dot and two dots? And in the third column, you can see it's just a dot dash history. So it looks like a file name. It doesn't have much problem. But when you read these first two information, you can see dot and single dot, two dots are providing you a file name, right? Okay. So here we have a file called bash history. Now we need to know what is this file type, right? What do you mean by single dot and what do you mean by two dots? And even you may have a doubt why we have dot in front of this bash history file, right? So I'll go back to this Kali Linux. Now in your Kali Linux output, you can see we have this single dot and two dots in blue color, right? The color is blue. And when you want to know the file type of whatever the directory and the file that you have created in Linux, you always need to check the first letter of the first column, right? So here it says it's D, right? And in the third column, the third row, you can see it's just hyphen, a dash, right? So likewise, you can, maybe in your output, you may find different characters, but for today, we are going to learn about two types, that is D and this hyphen. Okay, so in here, you can see the file type, that is simple D, and here hyphen. So what are they? First column, first character shows the file type. Okay. So when you have D, it means it's a directory. Usually we can identify directories with blue color. Okay. So in your output, you can see all directories appear in blue color. Now see, desktop is a directory. Okay. So desktop, it's a directory. We know that. Right. In my output is shown that desktop is a directory. Okay. So here it appears in blue color, and the file type, if you check this file type, it's D. It's because it's a directory. So what about the other files which are starting with this dot sign? Now you can see there's a file called .bash history, .bash rc, .cache. So why do we see this dot sign in front of this file name or directory name? It's because those files and directories are hidden files and directories. So that's why we can see dot in front of these files and directory names. So desktop is not a hidden directory that you can see just name as desktop. So likewise, we have some hidden files and directories listed in here. Now, what about the first two directories? Are these things are hidden? Yes. This single dot directory and these two dot directories are hidden directories, right? So that's why you can see dot sign in here. So when you use -A option, we can see all the hidden files and directories. So therefore, you can see this hidden single dot directory and two dot directory. So what is this hyphen then? Hyphen means it's just an ordinary file, right? So this bash history, .bash history, it's a hidden file, but it's just a file, ordinary file, regular file. Okay. So usually the regular files you can see either in white color on black color background, or if you have white background, you can see these files in black color, right? Either white or black, right? But especially the directories appear in blue color. So if you have hyphen, just hyphen means it's an ordinary file, or we call it as regular files. So what we can list down as regular files, files like this .bash history. So usually we can list down text files, executables, and also we can find program files, or we can call them as source codes. But anyway, first two are directories. That's the important thing. So likewise, we have so many other files, other file types, right? Not only the directory and regular files, we have different types of files that we can use in Linux. So in next lab session, you'll be learning more file types, right? With different colors, okay? So here you can remember directories show the file type with letter D as the first character of the first column, and regular files appear as hyphen in the first character, as the first character in the first column. So this is a regular file. Directories usually comes in blue color, but regular files comes in either black or white. Okay, so this .bash history is a hidden file, right? This is a hidden file. So all of these hidden files are starting with dot sign. So how do we weave these hidden files? It's because we have this -a option. Yes. So then we have 9 other characters. Now, if you count down the number of characters in here, we have 9 characters in here, right? So along with the file type, you can see access permission. So we are going to discuss about access permissions in Lab 3 in detail. So remember, all of these 9 characters are representing the access permission of whatever the file or the directory. Right? So here we have access permission. So then we have link count. Now, when it comes to link counts, we have 2 types of links. One type is hard links. Right? So when it comes to links, we have 2 types. First one is hard links. Second type is soft links. Okay. So when you have soft links, we can't see how many soft links you have, right? But when you are creating any hard links, the number of hard links, we can see how many hard links are there for one directory or one file. So in here, we can see something called link count. That is 20, 24, or 1. Likewise, in the output, you can see so many other numbers. So it shows how many hard links are there for this directory or file. Okay, how many hard links? Number of hard links for directory or file. So this means how many hard links? Number of hard links. So we are not going to discuss about hard links and soft links in detail, right? On how to create hard links and how to create soft links in here. But just keep it in mind, like hard link is like a direct reference to this directory. So if you want to access into this directory, you can use one of these hard links and save whatever the content into that directory or file. Soft link is like a shortcut. So you have used shortcuts in Windows environment, right? So if you want to see a shortcut of one of your most used files or directories, you have to create a shortcut into your desktop. Usually we create shortcuts into our desktop to provide quick access. So soft link is like a shortcut. Okay. So we can create any number of shortcuts. We can create any number of hard links. But soft links, remember, it's just a shortcut. So it's very lightweight and you can access the actual file using that shortcut. But hard link is another direct reference to the same file location. Okay, so let's say you have in here 20 link counts. So using one of these link count, you can directly access into the physical file system of whatever the file or the directory that you have created. So inside the physical file system, we just have one location to save the content, but you can use 20 links to access into that same memory location. So then we have user account. So here you can find user who created this file or the directory, and then the group. So group means the group which is the user belongs to, right? So this user root belongs to a group called root. Now, when it comes to groups, we can create any number of user accounts under one group category. So for an example, if I take a group like exams, right? If you have a group called exams, inside this exams group, we can have many number of exam accounts, user accounts, right? So inside this exam group, we can create IP online user account, right? And also we can create another account for, let's say, OS labs, right? Likewise, we can create several other user accounts. Okay. So there are user accounts which are not belongs to this group, right? For an example, if you use this root user or student user, student or either root user is not belongs to this exam group. Okay, so they comes as these user root or student user account comes as a different account, different group category, and falls into others, right? If you are considering only exams group, so then student and root users are comes under other accounts. They don't belongs to this group. Now we can have another user account group like ITS staff. So in staff account, we can have ITSD account for admins, and also we can have academic accounts. Right? So these two are two user accounts, comes under staff group. So then comes the file size in bytes. And then we have the date that we have opened the file or last modified date or the date that you have created this file. So when you see this file name singled up, right? It's a directory. So this directory, I have created it on today at 8:25. So when I initiate my login, when I log into this user, root user, on that point, on that time, has created a new directory as a single dot. Now, what is this single dot? Now, that's the problem. Single dot means it's the current directory that I'm working. That is the current directory. Now, in the next question, as question 4, it is asking you to guess the meaning of single dot. Right? Single dot means it is the current directory. Okay, so we try out this ls minus al command. Single dot in blue color, it means that is the current directory. And then we have two dots in blue color, that is the parent directory or upper level directory of the current directory, right? So this denotes the parent directory of the currently working directory. So now you need to know what are the options, right? So there was a question asking what are the options? What is the meaning of each and every option like A and L? So we'll see what are the options. To see the options, to see the details of these command options, you can always check the manual page. Right? So I have to relog into this account. So if I open the manual page, to exit this current manual page, you have to press Q, right? So when you press Q, you can go back to the terminal prompt. So I'm going to read the manual page of ls command. So ls command, what we have in ls, it says list directory contents. That is the meaning of ls, right? In PWD, what we did was to leave the current working directory or the location, print working directory. ls stands for list directory contents. So here you have more description about ls, but with the description, can you see they are providing you the meaning of each and every option, right? So when you have minus a option, what is the meaning? It means all. Do not ignore entries starting with dot. So what do you mean by this? It means you have to list down all the file contents, including hidden files and directories. So hidden files and directories are starting with dot sign. So that's why it says that do not ignore them, right? You have to print them as well. So minus a means list down file contents or directory contents, including hidden files and directories. Then we have so many other options, but we are not going to use all of these options. But during your leisure time, it's up to you to execute these things and see what kind of output you can see, right? But we are going to see the meaning of minus L. So minus L, what it says, use a long listing format. So minus L means you can leave a lot of information. Now, when we want to see the properties of whatever the files and directories in Windows environment, you can right click on the file and go to properties, right? You can right click on the file and open the pop-up menu and select properties. So if you want to see the file size and more details related to file or the directory, you can use that option, properties. But in here, if you want to see what are the access permissions, file type, and who created, And if you want to see the date and the time it was created, as well as the file size in bytes, then you can use this -L option, right? So in simply, -L option will list down the properties of whatever the file and the directory, right? So it says use a long listing format. So it's like the arrangement is looks like a table, right? So in each and every row, you can see corresponding information to whatever the file or the directory. So likewise, we have several other options. It's something as homework where you can try out these options, right? Right. Now we have another command to see, to type and experience the output, that is CD. I think you have worked with these first few commands. So we'll see one more information related to this ls. Now, if I want to open another terminal, I can use file open terminal, right? So it will open up another terminal. Now, if I just execute pwd, you can see I'm in the same location. If you want, you can use ls command, just ls command without executing any other options. You can use just ls command. So this is what you can see when you execute ls command. You can't see all the hidden files and directories, not even the current directory, not even the parent directory, because those current and parent directory comes as hidden directories, right? So we can see only 3 directories are there in this location. And if you use ls-a option, here we can see all the hidden files and directories, including hidden files and directories. You can see all the other directories in here, right? So here we can see desktop is a directory, right? IP Lab 2021, it's another directory. And we have another directory, OS Online 2021, right? So likewise, those are the main directories that we can see. But other than that, we have several other hidden directories and files where we can't see. But if you use -A option, you can list them down. So if you just use ls-l option, you can see very little amount of data related to the files that you can see right now. So if you compare this output and ls-l output, you can see some similarities because it will list down the details of desktop, IP Lab 2021 and OS Online 2021, right? So if you want, you can combine several commands together, options together, and use like this, is ls-al. Okay, now we'll execute cd command and quickly check what is the output of this. Cd single dot, right? In the lab sheet, it says type cd space single dot at the command prompt, right? So I'm going to close this. So here you can see so many outputs are there. So I'm going to clear the screen. So how do we clear it? Either you can type clear and press enter. Okay, so it will clear the screen, or else you can use shortcut like Control L, right? So first of all, I should be, where am I? I'm working inside the root directory, pwd. So then I'm inside the root directory. So then if you type cd space single dot and press enter, we can't see any changes in here. And again execute PWD, but we can see still I'm in the same location. So this will confirm the meaning of single dot, right? Single dot means current directory. So CD, what is this CD now? CD means change directory. So if you don't know about the meaning, you can go back to the manual page and open the manual page of CD. So I don't have that manual page entry in my terminal. So CD stands for change directory. So if you want to go inside a directory, you can provide CD command and provide the directory name, right? So this question is asking, does it change your working directory? It's not going to change your working directory. Still, we are inside the same directory, right? Root directory. I'm inside the root directory. So next we have ls command, again with a new term, that is ls tilde. So what we can see with this output, ls tilde, ls space tilde. Now here we are giving the command and without options, we are providing a target. So target is this tilde. Okay. So what we can see the same output like ls, right? So it will list down directory content of the current location, current directory, right? So I'm inside root directory. We have only 3 directories inside this current location. So if you provide ls tilde sign, you can still see the same directory content. So this is the current directory content. But if you execute ls space tilde slash 2 dots, what we can see. Now the output is different, right? It's ls tilde / and 2 dots. Now this is actually the output of this root directory, right? So I'll show you how to read that, right? If you go back, CD 2 dots. Now if you use CD and 2 dots, what we can see? We should see something like this, right? The location is just /, right? So that means I'm inside root directory. So what is the meaning of these 2 dots? 2 dots means parent directory, right? Now I was inside the root user account. So who is the parent of this root user? It was root directory, right? Just 1 /, that was the root directory. So when you provide CD single dot, you will come back to the same directory, current directory. But if you provide CD with 2 dots, you can go to the parent directory of the current directory. Now, who is the parent of my current directory? That is the root directory. Root directory denotes with a /, right? So you can see the prompt is also changing here compared to the previous prompt, you can see some difference in here. It shows you where you're working right now. It's root directory. And if you execute ls and compare the output of this previous command, you can see some similarity. So ls tilde 2 dots, what it shows you? It will show you the directory content of the parent. So there's a question in your second page. It is asking you to write down the output appeared on this screen for ls tilde and ls tilde 2 dot. And along with this outputs, you should write down what is the meaning. That's the important thing, right? ls tilde will list down the directory content of the current working directory. So my current working directory is the user count, right? I'm working inside root user. So that is my current working directory. So therefore I can see root users output. Okay. ls tilde slash 2 dots. It will provide you the directory content of the parent directory. Okay. So in the next question, it says, guess the meaning of 2 dots in the last column of your above answer. So 2 dots, guess the meaning of 2 dots in that question. It means the parent directory or upper level directory. So I'm discussing this question right now. I was discussing this question. You check this output. Guess the meaning of 2 dots in the last column of your above answer. That is the parent directory or upper level directory. So then you have to run the cd 2 dot at the command prompt and run the pwd again. Has cd 2 dot changed the previous working directory? So we did that, right? In my output, I have executed cd 2 dot, right? And then I executed pwd directory. So we saw that it was changing my location to the parent directory, right? So answer is yes. Answer is yes. So according to your observation, what is the function of command cd then? CD stands for change directory. Change directory. Okay. So I'll show you these things again in here. This is what we have executed. Now in here, we can see pwd. Now when I execute pwd, this is what I can see. I'm inside root directory, root user, right? So I'll show you the hierarchy. In my root directory, I told you that we have several other accounts inside this root directory, directories like home, root, etc. So these are just samples. So my location, current location, when I execute pwd, it shows you current location as root. So this is where I am right now. Okay. So this is my current directory. This is my current working directory. And what about this? We know that it's the root directory, right? This is called root directory. So actually this root directory means it's my parent directory. Okay. So when I execute cd single dot, it won't change the location. When I execute pwd again, it will show you that I'm inside the same root users directory, right? So single dot means it will denote the current working directory, same meaning, right? And what is this ls and tilde sign? So this is not hyphen, it's tilde, right? So you have to find out where the tilde sign is in your keyboard, right? It should be where close to the tab key. If you don't see that, right? It's very close to the tab key and the escape key. So this tilde sign means that is your user's home directory. It's actually the meaning of tilde sign means it is denoting the user's home directory. Okay, so the meaning of tilde it's user's home directory. So according to my example, I'm currently working inside root. So root user is my user's home directory name. So this tilde represents root in my example. But if you have something like student or your user account, that means your user account will denote with this tilde sign. So there we have only 3 directories. I have only 3 directories in this root users account. So therefore you can see that in this output. Now when you check this prompt, shell prompt, you can see this tilde sign over here before the shell prompt. So I told you that my shell prompt is hash sign. Sometimes you can see dollar sign, but in between this hash or the dollar sign, you can see tilde sign. So that means I'm inside my user's home directory, right? But if you see something different in here, it always show you where you are working right now. So I'm currently inside user's home directory. So that's why I can see tilde sign. It's user's home directory. Then we have tilde slash 2 dots. So 2 dots means these 2 dots stands for parent directory. Okay. This means the parent directory. That's the parent directory. So I want to list down the files and the directory content of the parent directory. So parent of whom? Parent of user's home directory. So this tilde sign denotes user's home directory. Slash means it's like a separator. And I want to see the parent directory of user's home directory. So that is the meaning of this. Tilde slash 2 dots means I want to be or list down the directory content of parent directory of user's home directory. So I'm deleting some of these files because you can't see the complete output otherwise, right? So when you type cd two dots, what it actually means, you can go back to your parent directory. So cd two dots. It means the parent directory, right? So then cd stands for change directory. The cd means change directory. So now you know three commands. You have learned pwd. pwd stands for print working directory or present working directory. ls was the second command. ls means list directory contents. cd means change directory. That is a meaning. So if you use cd command and another name over here, not only two dots or single dot, you can use a directory name over here, and you can go inside that directory. Now, when you observe this output, when you type cd two dots, cd space two dots, you can see I have went back to this parent directory. So parent directory icon is here, it's /, right? See, it's /. So when I check pwd, I'm inside root directory, right? It means I'm currently inside here, root directory. I'm inside root directory. So when you type pwd, it will show you just /, which means you're inside the root directory. And also in the prompt, you can see /. So that means currently you're in here. So if you just type ls, you can see the same output as you have weaved in this command, using this command, right? Same output can be seen. So now we have some few commands to learn very quickly. We'll go to the next few commands. Okay, so in the next question, it says you have to create a new directory with your ID number inside the user's home directory. And then you have to learn how to create it using mkdir command and how to delete it using rmdir command, right? So we are going to create some files, and also we are going to learn how to copy and move files from these directories, right? So I'm going to create a new directory called with ID number. Now we don't have ID number, right? I don't have ID number. So I'm using a random name to create it, right? Now we were in here, right? Currently I'm inside this root directory. So we need to know how to go back to this user account, right? So in this output, you can see how to go back to this user account. How to change the directory to student or user's home directory. Now, my example, I'm working inside root user. So I want to go back to root user's account, right? So we have few options. Either you can type cd tilde sign, right? Or we can use cd dollar home, right? Or else we can use cd. Okay, we have three options. Either we can type cd tilde, or else we can type cd dollar home, or else we can type just cd and press enter. So then you can come back to user's home directory, right? From any location, if you want to come back to user's home directory, your current directory, user account, you can use cd tilde sign, cd dollar home, or cd, just cd and press enter. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so currently I'm inside root directory. I'm just using cd tilde sign, cd space tilde, and press enter. So execute pwd and see where you're working right now. I'm inside root user because I have logged in as root user. Okay, so if I want to see the other commands, I can do something like this. I'm going back to the root directory. Okay, so currently I'm inside root directory. Okay, so if I type cd dollar home and press enter, I can come back to user count. That's root user count. Okay, so if I go back to this root directory, and if you want to experience, now I'm inside root directory, right? What will happen with cd command, you can type just cd and press enter. See, I'm inside root user account. So we have three options. You saw what are the options. Either we can use cd and tilde sign, or else we can use cd and dollar home, or else you can just type cd and press enter. So you will come back to root user's account. So from here onwards, you have to be inside root user account to do whatever the activities, right? So I'm going to show you how to create a new directory. Inside this directory, I'm going to use command called mkdir to create a new directory. So currently I have these three directories. If I use mkdir, and it is supposed to create a directory with your IT number. So you can use IT21 and whatever the number you have, right? I don't have an IT number, so I just type it as IT21X, okay? And press enter. So using mkdir command, we can create a new directory. Okay, so if you want to check whether it is created, you can use ls and press enter, see whether the directory is created. Yes, it's there. Right? You can use mkdir to create this directory. Let's say I want to delete it. Now, currently, we don't have any files created inside this IP number directory. So if I want to delete it, I can use rmdir IT21, and you don't need to type all the contents. You just need to type tab key. So it will complete the rest, right? So I have only one directory starting from IT, right? So therefore, if I just type IT and press tab, it will complete the line, right? So I want to delete it. I'm using rmdir to delete my directory and press enter. So confirm whether it is deleted. Yes, it's not available. So the directory that we have recently created with my IT number, it's deleted using rmdir command. Okay, so just summarize the things that we have learned. Before moving to path names, I'll just summarize the commands that you have learned. We have started with PWD. Okay, PWD stands for present or print working directory. LS, list directory contents. So with ls command, you have learned few options, right? So if you have -a option, it will list down all the files. Including hidden. Right? And if you are using -l option, if you are using -l option, it will list files in a long listing format. Okay, so I'll go back to the terminal just for 5 seconds, not more than that, right? We used mkdir command with the directory name, right? And here you can see whether it is created. ls, when you type ls, you can see whether it is created. At the same time, I wanted to delete it, right? So I used rmdir command to delete it. And again, confirm whether it is deleted. Yes, it's no longer available in my content. Okay. So we used another new command, that is cd. cd stands for change directory. And then you have learned mkdir. mkdir stands for make new directory. And you have learned rmdir. rmdir stands for remove an empty directory. So if you have a directory with some contents, let's say inside the directory, if you have some files and some other subdirectories, you can't delete it using rmdir. So that is the meaning of remove an empty directory. So I have deleted my directory, IT directory, just after I created. So I didn't create any files inside that directory. Not even I didn't go inside the directory. So I can easily delete it using rmdir command. So you can delete any empty directory with rmdir command. But if you have files within the directory, you can't use this command. Okay. So if you have files within the directory, then we are supposed to use something called rm -rf to delete the directory content. So rm space -rf. This means to remove a directory with the content. Okay. So if you have some files inside the directory, So then it won't allow you to delete it using RMDIR. So you can use RM minus RF to delete it. So minus R means recurring. Minus R, it means recurring. So recurring means it's like a loop. It will delete files inside the directory, and then it will see whether there are any subdirectories inside the directory. And also it will look into the subdirectory contents and delete them, then come back to the subdirectory level and delete those subdirectories, and then delete the directory. So recurring means minus R option will delete the internal content as a loop, right? Like a loop, it will repeatedly delete it and come back to the main directory and delete it, right? So if you have some files and directories within a directory, you can't delete it at once using RMDIR. You have to use this recurring option. Minus F, if it is not allowing you to delete it, you can force to delete it, right? You are forcing to delete the file or delete the directory. Okay. So even if you want to delete any files, you can use this RM command, right? You can remove or delete files, right? So you can use RM command to delete any file. Okay. So now we are going to see very quickly how to do copy and paste. But before that, you have to know how to learn about path, right? The difference between RMDIR and RM, I told you, you can see that with the meaning, right? So RMDIR stands for removing an empty directory. You can remove an empty directory, but RM command, it will allow you to delete anything, right? So even if there's a directory with some content inside the directory, if you have some files and directories, you can use RM command with some options like minus RF and delete it, right? So if you want to create more directories, you just need to use mkdir, right? Anyhow, if you want to create more and more directories, you just need to use mkdir. Multiple directories, creating multiple directories. That's how we are creating. So now we are going to see that. Okay. Right. Quickly we'll see what is about this path name, because this part is something new, right? Path names. Because when you work with this terminal, you have to show where you're working right now and where you want to copy this file, the location, right? So path name is actually giving you a location, right? So path name starts with one type, that is absolute path. Okay, we have two path names types. So I'm starting with absolute path. So you have seen examples, many examples for absolute path, right? So what is this absolute path? Path names starting from / or root directory and which shows a complete path. So as you can see, absolute path means whatever the path names which are starting from root sign, right? / So you saw some examples like root, home, student, desktop, right? Even in our outputs in here, root directory, right? Root directory, inside root directory, I have my root user, right? So, in one of these terminal, like desktop, you saw that root directory and then root user and then desktop. Likewise, you can see some examples. These are some examples for absolute path name, because all of these path names are starting from root directory, right? So that is a special thing. Okay. So like in here, there can be some examples like here, root and / root / desktop. Remember, only the first forward slash denotes the root directory, right? These forward slash are separators. Okay, these are separators. This one is the root directory. Okay, so we have another type of path names, that is relative path, right? So we have two types, absolute path and relative path. So in relative path, you don't need to define the root directory, right? You can define the path name according to your current location, right? So define the path name relative to the current directory. So we don't care whether you are inside root directory in here. Actually, all of us are working inside the root directory, right? Because we are logging into a user account. So anyhow, the user account belongs to the root directory. That is the hierarchy. So whatever the location, we don't need to write all the path, full path, right? Absolute path is like denoting the full path, but you can show your current location, your path name with the current directory location, right? So if the current directory is student, you can see student is denoted with dot sign. So you have learned dot, single dot can be used to denote current directory, right? Two dots can be used to denote parent directory. So I'm using that method, those symbols to denote my relative path, right? So that's what I'm doing. Now, if I want to show that I'm working inside my desktop directory, I don't need to write root, home, student, desktop. Now, in this example, you can see root, home, student, desktop, right? So this is very long, right? When you want to show this path, it's very long, right? Absolute path name, it's very long. You might miss some contents in that, right? If you misspell these things, it's a mistake, right? So if you are using relative path, you don't need to write these things. This dot actually identifying forward slash, that is root directory, home, and student. So we don't need to write it. We can simply denote them using dot sign and the desktop, right? Desktop is the name. So even if you want, here also you can use dot sign, right? So root, directory root. So how do you write this relative path name in here? For this example, it's just single dot. Okay. For this example, how do you write it? Single dot, desktop. So this single dot means forward slash root or root directory, root user, right? So in this example, this dot sign means root directory, home, student. Okay, so that's how we can identify the difference between absolute and relative path. So we are using these absolute and relative paths to identify and create some files inside my user account. Okay, so we'll go to this hierarchy. Now we have to create so many directories. Okay, there was a question how to create multiple number of directories. Now we can see how to create them and how to create files inside these directories. Now you can see here it is the root directory. And inside the root directory level, you can see home, etc, dev. Likewise, there are so many other directories inside this root directory hierarchy. So this is the top level. And what is this? Student. That's my user's home directory. Now, in my example, you know that student replaced with root, right? I don't have this name student. I have root in here. I'm using name called root. Okay, so we are going to create two directories inside the root directory. One is week 1, the other one is week 2, and we have desktop. Desktop directory is already there. We don't need to create it. Okay, so we don't need to create this directory. It's already there. We have to create week 1 and week 2. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to create them. I'm going to clear the screen. Right? Right now I am inside root users directory. Okay. If I check the file content, I have desktop directory over here. So I don't need to create that desktop. Okay. But I have to create two other directories called week 1 and week 2. So I'm using mkdir week 1 press enter and check whether it is created. Yes, it's there. And also you can use mkdir week 2. So check whether it is created. Yes. We have week 1 and week 2 directories. Okay. So if you check this hierarchy, now you can see inside my root users directory, I have desktop, IP Lab 2021, OS Online 2021, week 1 and week 2. So we have 5 directories inside this. So recently I created week 1 and week 2 using mkdir command. Okay. Then I'm going back to this link. Here, inside desktop directory, I have to create a file called hello.txt, right? But inside week 1 directory, as you can see, there are 3 other directories. Inside week 1, we have OS, ETF, and DAW directories. But inside desktop directory, I have just one file to be created, that is hello.txt. Okay, so I'm going to create these 3 directories first, and then I'll come back to desktop. Okay, right. So how do I create directories inside week 1? I should go there, right? I can't create anything being inside my root users directory. So currently I'm inside root user. So I have to change my directory to week 1. So when you change the directory, see, it shows you you're currently inside week 1 directory. Okay, so if you type pwd, you can confirm whether you are inside week 1 directory. Yes, you are inside week 1 directory, right? So I'm going to create 3 directories, mkdir, OS, mkdir, ETF, mkdir, DAW. So if you check the directory contents, now you can see inside week 1 directory, we have 3 other directories. DAA, ETF, and OS. So I have to create hello.txt inside desktop directory. So I have to come back to desktop and create hello.txt in that directory. Okay. So how do I come back? If I type cd and press enter, I can come back to root user, right? So I'm going to press cd and come back to root user directory. Because I was inside a directory hierarchy, right? When I'm creating these 3 directories, I was inside week 1 directory. So I should come back to the root user directory in order to access desktop, right? Because the desktop directory, and week 1 directory, week 2 directory are in the same level. Okay. So now I'm going to access desktop directory. Using cd command, you can access the desktop directory. Okay, so I'm inside desktop directory. I'm going to create a file over there. So first of all, I should check whether there's a file called hello.txt. Otherwise, there will be an overlapping, right? So to avoid that, you have to check whether there are any other files inside this directory content. So inside ls, inside this desktop directory, when you type ls command, you can see only 3 files are there, and we don't have file called hello.txt. Okay. So how do I create hello.txt now? We can use VI editor. We used VI editor to type our program codes, right? Sometimes you may have used nano editor or maybe G editor, but I'm using VI editor, right? We work with VI editor. So I'm using VI space hello dot txt. So you know that when I type vi space hello.txt and press enter, it will open VI editor. So then I don't see anything in the terminal. I can't see anything from the terminal, right? So you will be inside the VI editor then. It's like a file, right? You're opening a new Word document, like something like that, new notepad. So and you can type anything over there, but remember, you can't execute any commands from there, right? So I'm going to press enter and go inside hello.txt, right? So when you are opening a new VI editor, always remember you have to press I and come back to insert mode. Otherwise, we can't type any content, right? So I'm typing just a statement saying this is hello.txt file, and we are going to check copy and move commands. Okay, so when I want to save this content, you have to press escape :W Q, right? You need to press escape key and then type :W Q and press enter. So then you can come back to terminal, right? So check the directory content. Now you can see hello.txt is there. Hello.txt is there. Okay. So I'm going to work with this hello.txt file right now. Now inside this desktop directory, I have this hello.txt file. So I'm going to do some activities with this file. So file handling commands like cp, you can copy a file from one of these locations and paste it into a different location, right? So you can type cp command and provide what you want to copy and show the destination file, right? So in here, I'm going to copy hello.txt file from desktop directory and paste it inside week 1 directory, right? So that's what I'm supposed to do. So I'll show you what I'm going to do it from here. Now in this diagram, you can see currently I'm inside this desktop directory hello.txt, but I want to take a copy of this file and send it to here, week 1 directory, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I want to make a copy of hello.txt from desktop and paste it inside week 1 directory. Okay. So this is how we can do it. CP command can be used to do copying a file or directory, right? So clear the screen. I'm going back to the terminal. Sorry. So currently I'm inside desktop directory. So I'm going back to my root directory, root user directory. So currently I'm inside root users directory. So I want to copy hello.txt, right? So where the hello.txt is currently, it's inside root users desktop hello.txt. I want to copy this file. That is the file that I want to copy and save it inside week1 directory. Okay. So I'll open another terminal, right? So from here, I'm going to show you what will be there in week1 directory. So currently inside week1, here you can see, other than the directories, you can see hello.txt. It's there. Okay. And also, if I open another terminal to show you the desktop, now this is week 1. So if I show you the desktop directory, cd desktop, I'm inside desktop directory, and hello.txt file is there already because we just took a copy, right? So when you're copying files, remember, we are not going to erase it from the actual location. You just take a copy, right? Now you have done copying documents from from PC to your pen drives, right? You're not going to delete the actual file. You're going to keep it as it is. So when you do this action, right, still we can see the original file in the original location where it was created initially inside desktop directory. Okay. So then inside week1 directory also you can see hello.txt file. It's because we copied it from week1 directory. Okay. Right. I'll show you one more thing. If you want to do it with relative path, this is how we can do it. Now, when you do it with absolute path name, you saw that it was very long, right? So this absolute path name is very long and you can make mistakes. But if you want to do it with relative path, you just need to use copy command. And instead of this root home student, you can use dot sign, right? You can use dot sign and desktop hello.txt. And instead of the destination, instead of this root directory, home, and student, we can use dot sign and week1, right? So that's how we can short the path name, right? Using relative path, we can show it very clearly with short name, right? You don't need to write all the content. Okay, so I'll show it quickly like this. If I create another file called something like new hello.txt in here, using VI editor, we can create a new file inside desktop, right? I'm inside desktop. I'm creating a file called new hello.txt. I'm going to type as this is new hello.txt and I'm going to save it, exit. So if I show you how to copy it into this week1 directory without using these long path names, You can do it from here. cp dot slash desktop new hello.txt space dot slash week1. So I have copied that file. So if you check week1 directory, you can see there's a file called new hello.txt. And if you check desktop, yes, of course, you should see hello.txt as well as new hello.txt, right? So I created a file inside the desktop called new hello.txt. And again, I copied it using relative path, right? I did the same thing which I did in the previous command. Only difference is here I have used, in the first line, I have used absolute path. But in the second line, I'm using relative path. So that is a major difference. Okay, right. So then moving files, moving is similar to cut and paste, right? So if you want to cut and paste a file, you don't keep the original file inside the location, right? So let's say if I create another file over here, and if you do something like cut and paste, let's say I'm going to use this new hello.txt file, right? And I'm going to move it inside week1 directory, sorry, week2 directory. So then how do we do that? We can use mv command, okay? mv command, right? So currently I have new hello.txt file. So I'm going to show you mv command, desktop, new hello.txt, copy and paste it inside week2 directory. Sorry, cut and paste and save it inside week2 directory. So MV stands for move, right? So we are moving this new hello.txt file from desktop and save it inside week2, right? So then we shouldn't see this file anymore, right? See, we can't see new hello.txt. We can see only hello.txt, but we can't see new hello.txt inside desktop. Okay. But if you go to week1 directory, sorry, week2. Now I'm inside week2. And just type ls new hello.txt is there, right? So that's how moving commands will work. Okay, so here it's also doing the same thing, but it will move files into a week1 directory. So if you use this move command properly, even you can rename a current file, right? You can use this move command to rename a file, right? Even with cp command, you can rename the file. So if you want to rename and save it with a new file, you can use that. Either cp or mv commands to rename your files. Right? So that's what we have discussed in today's lab session. So we have some homework to complete by yourself, right? So you have to check what are the other things in this lab sheet. So I will provide you a submission link to submit your work related to this exercise. So in this lab1, as you can see as exercises, I have given you a file hierarchy, right? You have to create this file hierarchy and do these steps and write down what you have done, right? How you have written down, how you have created a file, right? How you have created a directory and copy these things from one of these directories to the other one, like this, right? So it says, sometimes it says you have to use relative path. So using relative path, you have to do it. Okay. So you're supposed to do the other rest of the activities from here onwards. I'll just show you how to work with MV command and CP commands, right? So do these things and see how it works. And complete these exercises and create a small document, Word document, or make it as a PDF and upload it to the submission link. So I will provide you submission link in SAM. Okay, right. So that's all for today's lab session. We are going to meet on next Monday with a new lab session. So submit your work. I'll give you around 1 week time period to complete this. Okay. So that's all for today. Thank you for participating in this lab session.